It's been just over 2 months since I last talked about Starfield. Do you know why? Because it's been 2 months since there's been something to talk about with Starfield. Let me tell you, things have begun to go completely off the rails when it comes to leaks and rumors around this game. Some of these leaks seem incredibly promising, but are actually complete nonsense, while some others seem like they should be a complete joke, but actually have some of the most legit backing to them. In this video, we're going to talk about all kinds of recent leaks to come out around this game, but also some more official statements from both Bethesda and insiders that I think actually give us a pretty good idea as to what is actually going on with Starfield. So the current situation with Starfield, according to Bethesda, is the game is releasing within the next 4 months. After the delay, they announced it's coming in the first half of 2023, which would mean it has to come out before the end of June. And earlier this year, we heard how Starfield will be getting a nice dedicated showcase around the game, so Bethesda has a proper amount of time for a deep dive into Starfield. And yeah, that sounds pretty great. We could have a half hour of Starfield gameplay with just Todd Howard telling us various things about the game. That's what many fans are hoping for. Unfortunately, between the showcase and the actual release of the game, we have no idea when any of that is happening. And as a result, many fans have just become incredibly pessimistic. We can see from some polls posted online that many people feel the game was delayed into the second half of the year, but at the same time, the game could be coming out in 2 months and we really wouldn't know the difference, at least as of right now. And one of the craziest happenings, especially as of late in the Starfield leak saga, are fans latching on to release dates. The first of which came from the incredibly reputable CD Keys. They listed Starfield's release date as March 23rd, 2023. A really pretty looking date, 3/23/23. And I think the only reason this date got any substantial attention is it sounds super exciting. Playing Starfield in just a little over a month from now. Todd Howard is finally doing that super short reveal to release. But at the same time, it's CD Keys. They are literally a sometimes illegal key reseller. Why on earth would this website of all websites know the release date for Starfield? Not to mention, on the page, it literally says it's coming to the Bethesda launcher, which was discontinued in May of 2022. But nonetheless, this story ended up getting enough attention that even some insiders like Jez Corden had to come out and say it's not real. And yet, shortly thereafter, another retailer may have actually leaked Starfield's release date, at least according to some articles. This retailer being GOG, the official retailer from CDPR. This one was a bit different because the way it worked was it wasn't actually on the GOG storefront, but instead, if you browse Starfield on GOG Galaxy, their launcher, it would show a release date of June 29th, 2023, which would barely get them in that first half window. It seems like the fact that this was GOG, not just some random retailer, but also a release date that was still several months away, made some people feel like this leak seemed far more plausible. But no, unfortunately, this too is fake, or at least not accurate, and someone from GOG even reached out to me to confirm as much. Basically, GOG Galaxy is intended to be a game launcher for all games, regardless of which storefront you purchase that game from. So even though Starfield isn't listed on GOG, it has a tie-in with IGDB to pull some data for games such as release dates. IGDB has the release date of Starfield for Q2 2023, which when translated for GOG is the end of June, and that's how we have this date here. So another inaccurate supposed leak, but what makes this one far funnier is this already happened. In the past, people already noticed this date on GOG, had a whole thing about it, and then it was disproven by the community. This only happened a few months ago, but nonetheless, it happened yet again just recently, and the entire process repeated itself. But okay, enough of this release rumor nonsense. What about something a bit more concrete? Remember how a bit earlier I mentioned that Jez Corden debunked the CD Keys release date? In doing so, he also wrote an entire article on Starfield and Bethesda. And this is where we start to hear some of the most interesting updates on Starfield yet, where he does say, we have it on good authority that Starfield's launch date isn't yet set in stone. Speaking to us on the condition of anonymity, trusted sources have told us that Starfield is now playable in full from start to finish. The game is truly vast, spanning multiple star systems. As such, the polishing effort is similarly gargantuan in nature. And although this is a leak from Jez Corden, I would practically take this as fact. In particular, as of late, Jez Corden has been the single most accurate Bethesda and Xbox leaker, getting nearly all of the details around this January showcase correct. And overall, I found this recent leak from him to be pretty interesting. The fact that Starfield's release date isn't yet set in stone is somewhat concerning to me, but also does kind of make a lot of sense with what else we've been hearing. As of late, the Starfield release date rumors, even from trusted insiders, just kind of feel all over the place, or like they're changing from week to week. Some insiders like Mr. Matty Plays or Rand Al Thor mentioned hearing that Starfield will get a delay, but only a minor one, not coming out later this year, but rather still coming out this summer. It just won't make that June date. Jeff Grubb, another incredibly accurate insider, mentioned in a recent podcast that he feels 51% confident that Starfield will drop in June, basically saying there's a pretty good chance it's June, but he's not 100% confident on that. And even Jez Corden himself recently said on his Xbox 2 podcast, the latest info I got suggests June to me. And I think if you start to look at some of these predictions and that leak that Starfield's release date isn't currently set in stone, it all makes a lot of sense. It seems like Xbox and Microsoft really want to have Starfield out in the first half of the year, but they aren't sure they can actually do it. And this is why we're getting this flip-flopping situation with release date rumors. The actual status of Starfield and its release date is a constantly evolving situation, and in turn, most insiders don't really know when the game's coming out. And I think there is even more evidence that there is a genuine desire to have this game out soon. This thanks to a recent interview with the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, which he did with IGN. He says, "The commitment we have to our customers to continue to deliver great games is something that I take seriously, the team takes seriously, and 2022 was too light on games. So we're excited about getting to roll into 2023, have the developer direct. I felt really good about the games that we were showing, and then also knowing that Starfield is a game that we'd be able to highlight in its own show, and then just start off 2023 with good momentum. And like you said, I think we needed that." The quote of starting off 2023 with good momentum thanks to Starfield does feel pretty big. It is a bit vague if he's referencing the Starfield showcase or if he's actually referencing the release of Starfield, but either way, the head of Xbox is here saying 2023 is going to start off strong for Xbox because of Starfield. And if that's true, it likely means we'll be hearing more about Starfield very soon because, the starting point of 2023 is rapidly coming to an end. And even Todd Howard himself has commented on Starfield, at least probably. Earlier in June, the YouTuber King David saw Todd Howard at the New York Game Awards. And at this, he apparently just asked him, is Starfield on time? And Todd Howard said yes, which would mean that Starfield is still coming out by the end of June. And I think all of this does actually explain some of the confusing or just outright bizarre marketing for Starfield. We were getting a ton of Starfield details early last year and even late in 2021. Tons of behind the scenes videos as well as a bunch of other things. But for the second half of 2022 onward, we just haven't gotten much. We've had 2 constellation question videos that were very short, and although BGS did confirm more and more Q&As are going to happen as we approach the release of the game, it's already been 2 months since the last one and we haven't heard anything about another one. And what I think is going on is they are very actively trying to get this game finished. There's a concerted effort at Bethesda and likely Microsoft overall to have Starfield out in the first half of 2023, so spending a bunch of energy and effort pulling people away for marketing videos doesn't make sense. They're focusing on getting the game finished instead of marketing the game, at least right now. And I think this too could explain the radio silence on this upcoming Starfield showcase. Although we did just get an update on that earlier this week, with someone from Bethesda saying, "We'll have more info to share on the showcase when it's ready to be, still sorting stuff out. I know that's not the answer you want, but nothing specific is being withheld." And to me, this seems to indicate that the showcase is still at least a ways away. It's still in the planning stage of what is going on with this showcase and even when it's occurring. And you have to imagine the actual time between when the showcase is announced to when it actually happens will be very short. For the developer direct in January, Bethesda only announced the developer direct 2 weeks before the thing actually came out, which is super short for them. But that also transitions us to the question of how short of a window will Bethesda actually do from reveal to release? Because as of right now, you can't even buy Starfield. There's no pre-orders available for this game, but even despite that, there may be some clues out there that things around Starfield are starting to ramp up and the game could be coming pretty soon. Several users from all over the world have started getting Xbox boxes with Starfield on it. A couple of these posts are from China, as well as some of them are from the US, and the thinking being is that if Xboxes are being printed with Starfield plastered all over the box, surely it's coming soon, right? And this isn't the only physical piece of Starfield content that has gotten updates recently. Bethesda Gear just sent out an email advertising that Starfield merch is coming soon to the store. And I have separately heard that promotional materials for Starfield have started showing up at the Bethesda Game Studios offices, such as headphones with Starfield logos. Although I haven't been able to confirm that personally, I didn't break into BGS to make sure those headphones were there. So with all this movement of physical content around the game, it would almost seem like the game itself is coming soon and they're actually preparing for that release. But again, how short would they really go from a release date revealed and pre-orders opening to the game actually coming out? There's of course this highly cited Todd Howard interview where he mentions how he wishes he could do a super short window here.
I like when you really see the game to when it's out is as short as possible. As short as people will let me.
And Bethesda's recent shadow dropping of Hi-Fi Rush and just how successful that surprise drop was does make a lot of people think that they could do something similar with Starfield. I don't think Starfield could get a full-on shadow drop, but perhaps a really short window of pre-order to release could be happening. And what I think a lot of people aren't realizing is Bethesda has actually done this once before, very similar to how things unfolded with Starfield. Oblivion originally had a release date of November 2005, and just a few weeks before the game was supposed to come out, Bethesda announced a delay for Oblivion, which, just as an aside, that's brutal. We get several months of a heads up that Starfield was getting delayed, but imagine we made it all the way to October 2022, and that is when we found out, oh no, we need more time. But what Bethesda did next was incredibly interesting, as the new release date for Oblivion wasn't officially revealed until March 3rd, 2006. March 3rd, 2006 is just 2 weeks before the game actually came out. So to put that simply, Bethesda delayed Oblivion just a couple of weeks before the original release date and then didn't give a new release date until just 2 weeks before it actually did release properly. So of course, this is old. Oblivion is quickly approaching 20 years old now, so can we really look at this old Bethesda behavior and apply it to the current Bethesda? Probably not, but at the same time, it is an interesting data point and two key people are still there. Todd Howard and Pete Hines were instrumental in the Oblivion delay and how the new date was announced, and Todd Howard and Pete Hines are both intimately involved in Starfield today. But even with that in mind, I think the Starfield situation is kind of bizarre, and to me, it really feels like it's turning into a bit of a powder keg. Starfield is either coming out within the next 4 months, or it's getting delayed until probably later this year, probably around November like Bethesda typically likes. So let's say hypothetically, we get the Starfield showcase in March. We finally get the release date for the game, and fans find out they are able to play the game in just 3 months or even less potentially. I think the communities around this game will absolutely explode with hype, and Starfield will quickly become the core talking point in gaming overall. Although on the flip side, if we go all the way to mid-March, and Starfield does end up getting delayed again, and it's a significant delay, like until November of 2023, I could see there being an equally extreme negative reaction online, with a lot of fans just frustrated over the silence, the lack of communication when the light at the end of the tunnel just ended up being another delay. So now, of course, on one hand, there are definitely a ton of instances of fans overhyping themselves up with Starfield and speculating way too much, but you also have been getting some mixed messages from Bethesda themselves. About a month ago now, the official Bethesda Latin America Instagram account replied to a comment, this inquiring about the release date, and they responded, "Very soon we will announce a release date. We're preparing a special game event." Which, okay, me and the Bethesda Latin America Instagram account have very different interpretations of very soon, because a month later and still no news is not very soon. And even Todd Howard himself, he very publicly stated this 11/11 date was written in ink. What changed from when he made that statement until now, where the game needs 2 more delays to be release ready? This assuming there actually is a second delay. And for me personally, Starfield getting a second delay would definitely make me a bit worried about the game. I don't generally have a problem with games being delayed, especially in the post-pandemic era. Believe me, I am very tired of covering buggy game launches on this channel. But if Starfield got 2 public delays, but then we also heard about how there was likely an internal delay because some of the engine upgrades took longer than they intended, it just makes you wonder what happened during development to lead to the game getting pushed back so many times in a row. And in general, when you see games getting multiple delays in a row, it's not normally a good indicator of what the game will end up being. And to be clear, this is not doomsaying on Starfield, it's just that if it did get a second delay, I would be a little bit more cautious going into the game, and it just make me wonder what happened. From Todd Howard very confidently saying 11/11 to a full year more being needed, potentially. But overall, the simple reality with Starfield is the situation here is incredibly complex. It's Bethesda's first new IP in over 25 years, and pretty soon they're going to have to change that marketing material to over 26 years. But this is also going to be the biggest new release under Microsoft since the buyout. And all the while this is going on, Microsoft is under heavy scrutiny for another buyout they're trying to do, as well as they're going through layoffs, and even some Bethesda Game Studios employees are being laid off in the process. Either way, if you want my prediction after spending way too much time thinking about all of this, I think what's going to happen is we get a Starfield showcase in March. I think that showcase will be announced either in late February or early March, probably 2 weeks ahead of the showcase, just like what they did with the Developer Direct. And at that showcase, it'll be revealed that Starfield is dropping in early June. Or if you really just want to have peak copium, maybe they actually managed to get Starfield out in April, as that is also a pretty nice window to have the game drop. Either way, that's a nice roundup of the latest leaks and rumors on Starfield, as well as my thoughts on what is happening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.